acknowledge that the land on which we gather and that is currently known as the City of West Hollywood is the occupied, unceded, seized territory of the Gabrielino, Tongva, and Gabrielino Quiche peoples. Commissioner Parlarski is going to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And next we have Councilmember Meister will be giving the oath of office to Commissioner Post. Soon to be Commissioner Post.
The oath of office. It's important. Before I do start that, I do want to thank our public safety partners who were just really fantastic this past Saturday at the rally. I want to thank our staff, incredible, block by block, everyone. You kept us all safe and you did it. We didn't even know you were there. So thank you so much. Appreciate it, really. Okay, you ready?
Yeah. Yes.
Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Stephen Post,
I, Stephen Post,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that while serving in the office
that while serving in the office
as a member of the Public Safety Commission
as a member of the Public Safety Commission
of the City of West Hollywood,
of the City of West Hollywood,
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
No, I have it. I can't do it.
Thank you so much.
Back. May I please get a roll call, Commission Secretary?
Commissioner Blau,
Aye.
Commissioner Eng,
Here.
Commissioner Hallman,
Here.
Commissioner Nickel,
Here.
Commissioner Pilarski,
Here.
Commissioner Post,
Here.
Vice Chair Harrison.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Wonderful. Our next item is Agenda 5, is approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to tonight's agenda for June 16th, 2025?
There are no changes.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
May I please get a roll call, Commission Secretary?
Commissioner Blau,
Aye.
Commissioner Eng,
Aye.
Commissioner Hallman,
Aye.
Commissioner Nickel,
Aye.
Commissioner Pilarski,
Aye.
Commissioner Post,
Aye.
Vice Chair Harrison.
Aye.
The agenda is approved.
Item 6 on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes from May 12th, 2025?
I have a change. It's minor. It's not that big of a deal. But on page 4, under item 8C, it notes that I inquired about the current staffing levels at the sheriff's station. I believe it was Vice Chair Harrison who inquired about that. That's my only change.
Thank you. We'll make those changes.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Sorry, we did that already.
I will move to approve the minutes.
Second.
I will second.
Item number 7,
We'll do a quick
Oh,
roll
sorry,
call.
roll call. My apologies.
Perfect. Commissioner Blau,
Aye.
Commissioner Eng,
Aye.
Commissioner Hallman,
Aye.
Commissioner Nickel,
Aye.
Commissioner Pilarski,
Aye.
Commissioner Post,
Aye.
Vice Chair Harrison.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved.
Thank you. Next is public comments. Do we have any public comments or callers on Zoom?
Yes, we have 2 public comments in chambers, none on Zoom. The first public comment is Peter Brock. If you want to approach the podium, you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Peter Brock, and I live on Rangeley Avenue. And I'm here on behalf of a growing number of neighbors in our immediate area, Ashcroft, Dorrington, Rangeley, and Rosewood, who are increasingly alarmed by what feels like a sharp rise in criminal activity and a concerning lack of communication. 5 weeks ago, my wife and I reached out to the Sheriff's Department to request a neighborhood safety meeting. Since then, we've followed up consistently, offered proposed dates, and copied the right parties. We received a few polite replies, but no meaningful effort has been made yet to schedule a meeting. Our request was precipitated by 2 brazen attempted break-ins at 8925 Ashcroft within just 3 weeks of each other, both caught on video. Many of us watched those clips in horror, but there have been several successful crimes this year. We don't know for sure, but we assume that because many neighbors contacted the sheriffs, one day a marked LASD decoy car was parked in our neighborhood, only to have it left overnight and smashed, all the windows broken. We now have over 100 households connected on a WhatsApp group in our immediate neighborhood, and the anxiety and concern are real. In the absence of communication from the Sheriff's Department, neighbors have started circulating options for private security. At least one house is now up for sale as a direct result of this rise in crime, cited by its owner. I want to be clear, we respect the Sheriff's Department and the extraordinarily difficult work they do. We appreciate their protection, especially in a time when law enforcement faces so many pressures. But we are longing for communication and partnership. The silence is eroding trust, and unfortunately, it's starting to create an adversarial dynamic that's confusing. It shouldn't be this hard for residents to speak with our protectors. We want to partner and be part of the solution. We're asking for your help, for this commission's help, in making that possible. We're ready to show up. We just need someone from the department to meet us halfway. Thank you for your time and your continued service to our city.
Thank you, Peter. Next, we have Anita Gwaswamy. If you want to approach the podium, you will have 3 minutes.
Hi there, I'm Anita Goswami. I've been a resident here since December of 1987. So I've been here a long time, lived on Ashcroft. First, thank you for having this venue to actually say something, to express comment. Couple of quick things. One of them is I've been here for a long time, and it was, I think, around 1990, 1991. You might want to look up in ancient history. My house, the house that I live in was burglarized. The neighbors, Grandma Barbara's next door, several of the neighbors, that we also had burglaries there. We neighbors got together. We went ahead, and I remember walking door to door with a flyer, and we neighbors became hyper alert. And with the partnership of law enforcement, the sheriffs, we worked together. What happened a week later was they actually were able to catch the burglars. And that was something that I just want to say, yes, there is a successful history. This can be done. I'm in the same neighborhood with Peter Brock, who just spoke. We've had a lot of security incidents in our neighborhood, not just the burglaries that have, the attempted burglaries. A couple of the other things, I remember walking outside and seeing, this was the stolen car incident from Petrosian. So anyway, there have been a lot of major incidents there. My concern here is when we've communicated the immediate burglary, these things that are going on, we've received a response from the sheriffs. Very happy to see that. What we are also doing, again, the hypervigilant group, okay, 30 years ago I was doing flyers, now it's a WhatsApp group. What we've been doing is we've become hypervigilant, and when we're walking the streets, walking our dogs, what we're seeing is strangers who are checking the doors of the cars to see if the door is open. We are seeing strangers who are, they seem to be walking around and just casing the neighborhood. What is not, it's reported, but we do not see closure at all, is when our cameras are seeing burglars, strangers coming over the fence into our backyard. This is not something that is normal behavior. So what we are asking for is specifically more communication, working together. As I said, 35 years ago, we were able to work together and it was successful. What we want to do now is we're looking to do the same thing. Thank you for your time. Look forward to more.
Thank you, Anita, and that is all for the public comments.
Next item is unfinished business. There is no unfinished business on the agenda for this evening. And now we're going to move into new business. We're going to get an overview of the City of West Hollywood Social Services Program regarding homelessness. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. My name is Christine Seyfried. I am the Acting Director of Human Services and Rent Stabilization Department, and I'm joined tonight by Francisco Gomez, who is our Acting Strategic Initiatives Supervisor in the Human Services Division. Tonight, we'll provide an overview of West Hollywood's approach to addressing homelessness, highlight key trends and outcomes, and share some of the challenges that we continue to face as a city. We'll also offer a brief look at the city's broader social services program, which is currently $7 million annually invested in services that support community well-being. And we'll talk about the direction that the City Council just gave to the city, both the Human Services Department as well as our Community Safety Department, in terms of updating our approach to homelessness. So with that, I'll turn things over to Francisco.
Thanks, Christine, and good evening, Commissioners. So I'll start off by providing just a brief overview of where we are regionally when it comes to homelessness. Across LA County, homelessness has increased by 70% since 2015. This is despite expanded investments in shelter and housing. The region continues to experience a daily net increase in homelessness. More people are entering homelessness each day than are exiting. This rise is driven by a combination of high housing costs, stagnant wages, and limited access to mental health and substance use treatment. One of the biggest barriers to housing is the housing bottleneck. While the number of shelter beds has nearly doubled since 2016, only 36% of those in need can access a shelter bed on any given night. And when someone enters interim housing, they face an average wait time of 9.5 months to move into permanent housing. This backlog not only slows the path to stability, but also reduces turnover in shelter beds, limiting opportunities for new clients to enter the system. Now I'll provide a little bit of history on the city's homeless response. So the city's homeless initiative was launched in 2016 and is guided by 4 key principles. The first being to ensure safety and well-being for all community members. The second, to acknowledge that while homelessness is a county responsibility, local leadership and collaboration are essential. The third, to build strong partnerships across public, nonprofit, and private sectors. And the fourth is to approach homelessness with compassion for those who are experiencing homelessness and for the community as a whole. These principles remain the foundation of the city's Care First approach. Rather than relying on punitive responses, the Care First model emphasizes trust building, voluntary engagement, and linking people to services that address their underlying needs. So the City of West Hollywood invests nearly $7 million annually currently in social services programs that reflect the city's core values, including respect and support for all people. These services address a broad range of community needs, from food and shelter to mental health care, HIV education, early childhood programs, job readiness, and legal support. The Human Services Division oversees this network of support through more than 30 nonprofit contracts. Staff ensure transparency and effectiveness through active contract management, financial oversight, and regular program evaluation. Division staff also provide direct assistance, offering crisis intervention, information, and referrals to residents and visitors who contact or walk to City Hall. Approximately $1.7 million of the city's social services funding is specifically dedicated to programs serving people experiencing homelessness. This includes housing navigation, street outreach, mobile behavioral health response, harm reduction services, and emergency shelter access. Importantly, these services are available to anyone who lives, works, owns property, goes to school, or spends the majority of their time experiencing homelessness in the city. Together, these programs form a citywide safety net designed not only to respond to crises, but to also address the root causes of homelessness before they escalate. Our contracted providers are the core response of the city, form the core of the city's response to homelessness. They deliver specialized on-the-ground services that are tailored to those diverse needs of our community. I'll now mention a few agencies and highlight some of the work that they're doing. Ascensia leads on street outreach, case management, emergency shelter placements, and permanent housing navigation. Step Up on Second specializes in serving people with serious mental illness, offering intensive case management, housing support, and access to psychiatric care. The LA LGBT Center's Youth Services Program provides shelter, drop-in support, and employment readiness for youth ages 16 to 24, many of whom come to West Hollywood seeking safety and community. And the Trans Latina Coalition offers culturally competent outreach, case management, and workforce development for trans and gender nonconforming community members. I'll now highlight two new programs that were recently added to the city's portfolio of providers. Healthcare in Action joined the city in 2022, and the CARE team launched in September of 2023. So, as I mentioned, both are relatively new additions to the city's response system. Together, they represent a shift toward a more specialized, trauma-informed, and field-based service that enhance the city's ability to reach individuals with complex medical and behavioral health needs. The CARE team is peer-led, operates 24/7, and responds to non-emergency crises. They provide stabilization, de-escalation, suicide prevention, housing navigation, along with follow-up support that ensures continuity of care and reduces repeated crises calls. The program serves both housed and unhoused community members. However, about 70% of those currently served by this program are experiencing homelessness. Healthcare in Action is one of the city's newest partners. They provide mobile street medicine and behavioral health care directly in the field. Their clinical teams offer wound care, psychiatric evaluations, substance use treatment, and medication management for individuals who are often disconnected from traditional health care. These partners meet people where they are, on the street, in parks, in moments of crises, and build sustained relationships that help individuals move towards stability, safety, and housing. So, as I mentioned earlier, in 2016, the city formally adopted its homeless initiative, and we've seen significant progress since this initiative was approved. Since 2017, the city has supported over 360 individuals secure permanent housing. And the rate of placement has increased. In 2017, we placed 24 individuals into permanent housing, and by 2024, that number grew to 72, marking a 200% increase. Interim housing placements have also increased from 80 in 2017 to 134 in 2024. That said, there are some challenges. As you may have seen, there are individuals who are regularly seen in public spaces who refuse services, even after multiple offers. Outreach and safety teams often operate in parallel rather than in partnership, and there's no consistent escalation system for complex cases and limited legal or administrative tools to ensure coordinated follow-up and accountability. So to address these gaps, the City Council on June 9th approved the implementation of a coordinated response framework, a new approach that built on the city's existing Care First model while adding greater structure, shared accountability, and consistency across partners. Rather than replacing what's already working, the framework is designed to enhance coordination among the many teams engaging with unhoused individuals in the city. Key components of the framework include a standing multidisciplinary team composed of human services staff, public safety personnel, contracted service providers, and county agency representatives. Shared protocols for triage, case planning, and intervention to reduce duplication and clarify roles. A designated lead agency to maintain a by-name list of high acuity clients and serve as a central point for coordination. And the strategic use of legal tools when clinically and legally appropriate to support individuals with serious untreated mental illness. The goal is to create a more unified, effective system, one that responds faster, plans together, and helps ensure that no one falls through the cracks. So the coordinated response framework is designed to improve response times and stability for individuals in crises, reduce service duplication by clarifying roles and communication, provide structure and escalation pathways for high-need cases, strengthen accountability and follow through, particularly in cases involving repeat contact, and to create a single coordination point for public safety and service providers to ensure a unified care plan. So now I'm transitioning over to just provide you all with a brief update on the Holloway Interim Housing Program. This is another core initiative that really advances a key goal from the city's plan to address homelessness. So the Holloway is scheduled to open in the summer, and will be the first interim housing program in the city that will bring shelter and services within our borders. This program is funded in part through a competitive state grant, Project Homekey. The project involves a conversion of a motel into a fully modernized interim housing site. The facility will include 20 private rooms, each paired with wraparound supportive services. Key features of the program include the key features of the program include pet-friendly accommodations. There'll be trauma-informed care provided and a focus on preparing residents for long-term housing. The goal is for residents to stay within 30 to 90 days to stabilize and connect into permanent housing solutions. There'll be 24/7 on-site staffing along with 24/7 security services, creating a secure and supportive environment for residents and the community. On-site services that will be delivered by Essentia or partner agencies and will include healthcare, case management, housing navigation, job readiness, and life skills development. Holloway fills a critical gap. It provides a West Hollywood-based option for chronically homeless community members. The project is a result of years of planning, property acquisition, infrastructure upgrades, and community engagement, including public listening sessions that help shape the site design and operations plan. Once open, the Holloway will meaningfully expand the city's capacity to deliver compassionate, coordinated, and housing-focused services. And I want to conclude by just reminding you all and the community of several avenues for reporting concerns relating to unhoused community members. The first is our homeless concern line. This line is monitored 24/7, and this line can be used to report any non-emergency concern, including just requests for general outreach, if there's someone appears to be building an encampment, or just if you would like someone to kind of engage a community member to offer services. This line can be called, as I said, 24/7, and this is probably the best way of getting outreach teams to connect with community members in need. If you witness a community member who is unhoused or even housed, having a behavioral health crisis, we also have our West Hollywood care team. So you can call this number 24/7, and someone from the care team will go out and engage the community member, try to destabilize and connect to services. And lastly, any emergency situation should not be referred to either of the two numbers I just mentioned. If someone is in a life-threatening emergency, that's a 911 call. That said, I'll transition back to Christine to close this out.
So thank you very much for your attention this evening. As Francisco went through, we have a homelessness response program that emphasizes service connection, collaboration, and consistency. We have also, heard and seen the limitations of the current system and are working in coordination with community safety staff, with our law enforcement partners, and with our social service agencies at the direction of our city council to update the approach that the city is taking to homelessness response, to expand coordination and really go deep into attempting to ensure we have stronger follow-up for very complex cases, particularly folks who are chronic refusers of services. And we just really want to thank you for your time, and we welcome any questions that you have.
Do any commissioners have comments or questions? Commissioner Blau?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you for this presentation. It's really helpful. I'm really excited about this framework, the unified approach that was presented and that we're going forward with. I think it really shows the care that the city has in all of our community members. I do have some questions because, as you mentioned there at the very end, and as we see on a monthly basis, even this month, from both the Sheriff's Department and Block by Block, we do often see that service resistance frequently. So one of the aspects that you mentioned in there was the strategic legal tools. Can you help me understand what that is? I assume that that's basically trying to leverage care courts. Is that correct?
That is correct. So we're looking at care court, we're looking at SB 43, and other similar tools. I think our current approach has not been, we have not had like by name case management and conferencing. I think as we transition towards this coordinated approach, a goal is to have a by name list and to develop a person-specific care plan that may involve a look at whether or not they might that individual might be a good candidate for something like care court or SB 43 or other interventions like that.
Got it. Okay, so that would be like a backup plan, basically, right? After you have kind of this unified case manager for, say, unhoused individual A, who always is kind of in this sort of area. If they're chronically refusing, then that case manager might evaluate some of these strategic legal tools.
That is correct. Yeah, we'll have like clinicians who are part of our MDT team, multidisciplinary team, and if at the beginning, if they see that a particular community member might be a good candidate for something like care court early on, that intervention could be explored at that point. I don't think they would wait if they realize someone could benefit from that intervention. I don't think they would wait as a backup solution.
Certainly. Yeah. Okay. Is that something that we've used often in the city so far? Like how often have we used such like strategic legal tools?
Good question. I cannot answer that question. I believe our care team has had some experience, but I don't know for certain. But I can definitely look into that and follow up.
Okay. I'd be really curious to see that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Commissioner Hallman?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the report. This is very important. And first, we all must remember it's not a crime to be homeless. And sadly, so many people are experiencing homelessness. Regarding Holloway House, which I think is an amazing project, I've heard concerns from residents in the area. They aren't familiar with what's actually going to be going on there. So does the city plan on doing any local or residential meetings to help read the community in?
Yes, we do. We're working right now on a coordinated outreach strategy with with Essentia, our service provider, as well as with our communications team and with our community safety team. We have been waiting to complete the construction on the project before moving forward with communications, broader communications to the community, because we didn't want to jump the gun and get too far ahead of ourselves, because as you may know, construction in the city is a very slow process, and there are many hurdles that have to be overcome before we get to occupancy. So we're somewhere right now in about the 3-month time zone, and we're really working to get into the community and to get the message out. We're also working with our business development and economic development team, who are in touch with the local businesses, and we'll be ramping up communications there as well.
Great, thank you. And regarding the phone numbers that were at the end of the report, where you can report concerns, how long have these been in existence, and how can residents source some of these numbers, like the homeless concern lines, the care team? Because when I did go on a ride along with the deputy who took us to a specific area where he had a feeling unhoused people might be, there was a young individual there who said he wanted assistance, but all of his personal belongings were there, so he couldn't just take off and go to A, B, or C to get assistance. He needed someone to come to him. And I remember watching the deputy struggle to get anyone on the phone. And then the commissioner that I was with, we started to try to get people on the phone, and we couldn't get anyone on the phone. So how easily will it be for law enforcement, block by block, and residents to access these numbers and get an immediate response so people can get the help that they need?
Got it. I got this. Yeah, thank you. So the lines have been active for, the homeless concern line has been active for more than a year. The care team line, we recently were able to make a public phone number available for direct calls. Before, those calls were being routed through the city, and now there is direct access to the care team for dispatch. We also have instituted weekly outreach between the care team and the homeless and our healthcare and action teams with the sheriffs, so that deputies are doing joint outreach and are better equipped to make instant referrals or timely referrals to these service providers. And then with the development and implementation of the multidisciplinary team, we'll have another layer of that coordination, so that our deputies and our block by block or unarmed security teams will have a more robust relationship with the providers and know the numbers to contact, as well as what to expect in terms of response. We're looking at either live responses or callbacks within 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you. And I have one last question. We have several different agencies working on behalf of the city addressing different issues. How often do they work together? Do they meet? Do they have discussions so everyone knows, like the left knows what the right is doing? There's unity in addressing this issue collectively.
Yes, they do. They have regular coordination meetings. They're monthly that take place among provider groups. So one thing that the coordinated response framework does is that it expands our coordination to include community safety partners, county agencies, and other stakeholders who are essential in kind of developing an effective care plan. But yes, among provider groups, those happen regularly.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for the report.
Thank you. Commissioner Polarski.
Thank you. Thank you for this wonderful report as well from the City Council meeting on June 9th, so very well done. I wanted to just ask a question about kind of the goals of the program and a little bit about the metrics. So you mentioned faster response, reduced duplication, structured paths, and stronger accountability. I was wondering if we had some kind of goalposts for what a faster response looks like, what a structured path looks like? How do we hold ourselves accountable to these goals?
So we're currently working on an implementation plan that will look at things like metrics. I think generally speaking, we hold all of our providers. We ask that they strive to be as quick as possible for response time. I'll speak on the care team in this program that I'm most familiar with. With them, we really ask that we try to respond within 15 minutes. So I think kind of working with providers and kind of realizing what the capacity is for response and trying to keep it as fast as possible is kind of an initial goal. But to your greater question, I think we will be working on those components in more detail as we work on implementing the coordinated response framework.
Okay, so we'll find what our baseline is now, and then we'll make an improvement from there.
Exactly.
Awesome. Okay. And then I had another question and to Commissioner Hallman's point, the outreach for the Holloway House, and maybe you had mentioned it and I didn't pick it up, but there will be an option for citizens in West Hollywood to help and volunteer and contribute to this house, or is it only through care providers?
So we're working with our operator, Essentia. They have a shelter in Glendale that they've operated for a few decades that does have an active volunteer program.
Okay.
So we were looking to replicate something like what they have in Glendale here in West Hollywood. So it won't be live when the site first opens, but I think as, maybe within the first year, we'll have something that mirrors what they do in Glendale. But initially, we work with Essentia, and they are, community members. They had some ideas for maybe easier or less time opportunities for volunteering that maybe don't require as much planning on the Essentia side. So once we have those, we will definitely share them with the community so that they know that those exist.
Okay.
And there could be things like like building baskets and other things like that.
Yeah, because I think there are a lot of citizens that want to help, and a structured way to do that would be great. And I think my last item was I really appreciate this slide here because I'm not necessarily sure that everyone knows which number to call when. So I just wrote on my paper here like a hypothetical. If someone is, just wandering and talking to themselves and bleeding out of their hands, someone would want to call maybe the homeless concern line, or would we call the care team line?
If someone's talking to themselves, we would call.
And also bleeding.
Yeah, that would probably be the care team. I think that they are able to kind of address the behavioral health issue, and they also can do quick wound care.
Okay.
And they also work closely with Healthcare in Action. So if more interventions needed, they can definitely pull them in.
Gotcha. And I just wanted to reiterate what I mentioned on June 9th at the City Council meeting. It's always just nice to, if you feel unsafe with someone, to just look them in the eye and ask them their name. That always helps.
Thank you. Commissioner Post.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I think it's really important right now. I know there's been some folks seen stories about, or residents raised to me the issue around Trader Joe's and chirping noises, and I saw the city kind of pushing back on that in some of the reporting as well. So I just think I appreciate this report and showing the comprehensiveness of the services that WeHo is providing, and knowing that we are taking a very compassionate response to homelessness. I think part of this report also came out of a request earlier trying to figure out how do some of these organizations communicate, or teams, whether it's the MET team with the sheriffs, then communicating to the CARES team and or Healthcare in Action. And I think the case examples that were in the study session were really helpful and flushed some of those things out. I think something maybe closer to like a flow chart of the case process once these teams are working closer together, because I know it almost sounded like they haven't had as much coordination as could be, and so I'm looking forward to this MDT team kind of response. But I think there is still some confusion on how these folks are communicating or what instances. For me, one of the things missing in the case studies was just a drug use case. If someone's openly using drugs, obviously we were talking about Prop 36 in previous meetings here. I think just knowing when someone would receive maybe a more compassionate care. If that's an instance when there's open drug use, there are obviously criminal and legal laws to enforce there, but I think generally I would hope to see someone like Healthcare in Action responding to an instance like that. So I think just making sure that we are, as these groups continue to coordinate, we're being very specific and helping the public know which line to call, as we've talked about, and also then where does that go? Because I think a lot of people might call these services, might make a report or make a tip, and then never know what happens. And so I think just helping them be informed about where their request goes through and how it goes through the process will be helpful.
Thank you.
Commissioner Nickel?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you, Christina Francesco, for the presentation. Residents are really frustrated, and it's good to, as was done on the 9th, and again tonight, to show everything that the city does, but it's not working as well as we all want it to. So, not a week goes by that I do not get several text messages of pictures and videos of people on the streets, people that have been there for hours, people that have lived on our streets for years. Do we know year over year from the homeless count where we're at? Are we up? Are we down? How many people are living on our streets?
So we're still waiting for the latest year count, but for last year's count, we were at like 85.
Is that an increase or?
That has, yeah, it's been an increase. I believe in like 2016, 2017, we were closer to 40.
Yeah.
And I would just add that, West Hollywood is a very small city and we have very porous boundaries. So year over year, the numbers for the counts in the city, they fluctuate, and they fluctuate fairly widely. We think it is a more accurate and kind of comprehensive to look at what's happening regionally and to see the changes in those numbers, because when you go to a more broad look, you can really see the changes in what's happening. And yes, the numbers of folks who are unhoused and unsheltered is going up, and the cities, local cities, the county, and the state are all attempting, to respond in various different ways. And as we see and as we experience here, it is both a very local and a very regional challenge that we face, and it is not something that is easy to tackle, and we are working kind of individually and at a systems level to address the issues.
Which is something that you try to explain, because of course we do act as a liaison between residents and the city. And one of the things that I always tell people is this exactly, that these things don't know boundaries, that people are going to move back and forth, especially where they feel safe, when they can. But residents have worked really hard. I mean, there's an example that I think that I talked about last time you were here, is there is a woman who's been living in her car in Plummer Park for 2 years with 2 cats in a hot car, and residents helped her get into a shelter for about 2 months, but she's back again. And so one of the concerns that she has, one of the concerns that residents have, are for animals. I know that this has always been a barrier for people when they do have animals, that they won't go into a shelter if they feel that they're separated. I understand that with Essentia, they're allowed to keep their animals with them, and that's one of the reasons why we contract with them, yes?
That's correct.
And so I believe that her cats are officially designated as service animals or care animals. There's been an issue as far as, can she take them there in Plummer Park into the community room where there's air conditioning? Sometimes we hear yes, sometimes we don't have a clear answer. Residents even bought a case, a carrier for the cats so that she can take them in. Can she take them in during the day so that they're all cooler in this building?
That is something, well, so 2 things. First is, as staff members and who are working with our contractor providers, we cannot comment publicly on individual cases that we're working on. So that sometimes makes it challenging in public meetings like this to talk about specific instances with specific individuals. So I'd just like to say that, kind of, and make clear. More generally, we are looking and working with our facilities teams and with our recreation teams about the the issues and the challenges related to animals and pets in our public facilities. And so I would like to kind of assure you that that is something that we are working on and is high on our list. We understand the challenges that it faces, as well as for unsheltered or people who are in very precarious shelter situations, with situations like vehicles, especially as the summer months are coming up.
Understood that, and that is completely appropriate that you can't talk about specific things, but theoretically, if somebody were having animals and they wanted to go into the building, I certainly hope that they would be allowed to go in with their animals as long as they're contained, as long as they are not a threat to anyone else, so that they can all be cool. And in certain cases, they may even need a little bit of help, maybe by block, to get the cage into there during the day. When Healthcare in Action was here, I mentioned one of my best friends who was homeless for about 5 years. We went to high school together, so I've known her for 35 years, longer than I care to admit. But I spoke to her today before coming here, as I often do, when it comes to these issues. And I asked her, because long ago, I talked to her about the frustration that residents feel. And if you look at the report from our sheriff's station, every single month, there are so many offers of help, and the number is so low. This month, I think the acceptance was 7, which was high and it's like 107 offers of help. She told me that they have to be ready. If you're on the streets, you're living on the streets, you have to be ready to accept help. But what really matters is that they know what help is available when they are ready. And we have a lot of help, so that's good. And I know that Healthcare in Action goes around. But when I talk to her today, I say it is still an issue. People aren't accepting help. And the first thing that she told to me is the most important thing is peer support, peer support, peer support. They have to be able to trust the people that they're talking to. So they need to talk to people who have lived on the streets, people who are coming out of the prison system, people who have been having issues with addiction. Now, I was really pleased to hear that this I believe is news to me, that our care team, that it's peer support. Could you talk a little bit about that? Is it all peer support?
Yes, so the peer support specialists who are hired by the care team have to have lived experience. Some of them have experienced homelessness themselves. Some of them were a part of they were in prison or have a history of mental illness in their families. So there's a variety of experiences that the care team looks for when hiring peer support specialists.
Okay, that is really good to know. So it's fairly recent that they came online as far as 24/7, yes?
Yes.
So I hope that we start to see a difference, that peer support is there. I would strongly encourage us to look as much as possible to embed peer support in every other outreach that we do to the people living on our streets. Because talking to my friend, who I love and trust more than most people on the planet, she tells me it makes an absolute difference. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Eng?
Thank you, Vice Chair. It's actually really a comment, not a question, and that is, I really just want to state how much I appreciate the City of West Hollywood for the efforts that it makes in regards to human services. I grew up in a city about 15 miles away with double our population, and I know that their human services budget is only 6 figures. So I know that the city makes a tremendous effort in this regard, and I just wanted to state that. Thank you.
And I just had one last question. You mentioned this earlier, and I think the coordinated response, it sounds fantastic, and I think it will answer a lot of questions that people have about how all of these organizations and resources work together. Because I know and Erica from Block by Block will give her a presentation shortly, but would you recommend from those numbers that you're providing, is that the number people should be calling versus Block by Block, or is it all part of the same? People shouldn't change their habits now if you're having an issue, right? Or should we be calling that number that you showed?
I think any call for help is valuable. We're working to improve the referral process and the kind of the warm handoffs. Right now, that's part of the coordinated response and the MDT. I think you'll get a slightly faster response if you call the homeless concern line or the care team. So that may be slightly biased because we work directly with those folks, but block by block is fantastic, and a call to them should result in a very similar outcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Do we have any additional questions? Any questions from the public? Sorry, George.
Sorry, very quickly, I forgot to ask about the Holloway House. I'm so glad that we're finally reaching to the point where it will be open to the people who need it. Is there a list? How long is the list? Is there a waiting list? Do we already know who is going to benefit from it straight away?
So we're currently working with the providers that the city contracts with for homeless services to identify that initial cohort. So Project Home Key, the state does not allow us to develop a list or any sort of wait list, so we're not doing that. But we are working with the providers to identify individuals in West Hollywood who are experiencing homelessness and meet the eligibility criteria for the program.
So it will prioritize people living on our streets, yes?
Correct.
I know someone in Plummer Park who could possibly benefit from that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Commission Secretary, do we have any public questions at this time?
Looks like we do have one public comment. Anita?
Yes, Anita. Just a quick question. Thank you for a great presentation. On those numbers, are those numbers staffed 24/7? And you mentioned the 15-minute SLA, but I didn't hear a yes, they're there 24/7, or they're only their office hours. I'd appreciate knowing that. Thank you.
And item 9B is a report from Los Angeles County Fire Department. Thank you very much, Christine and Francisco. Appreciate it.
Hello, welcome, and welcome to the board. It's wonderful, good set of folks. You're in good company. So, full disclosure, I don't have the report in front of me. It didn't come through on my end, so you're going to have to tell me what we did. No, I saw it, but I was unable to print it. I was in other meetings, and it didn't come through my phone or my iPad, so I apologize for that. By looking at it, though,
I was going to say, wait, so someone can give them a report to read off, no?
yeah, I don't have it. I don't have it. But I can say that by looking at it when it went into review, I didn't see anything that was off base. Look at this. Friends helping friends. Yes, thank you. Outstanding. Yeah, outstanding. Thank you. So I can see that what we had for May, we're still at average with the amount of fires we have. We somewhere average between 7 and 15, just depends. And we do see with the more activity, different types of fires. We still have those standard dumpster fires, and we see in the wintertime a lot of warming fires, if you will, that end up being those type of fires. So, and all those fires start out small, as we say. On the total responses, we're still averaging at 20 a day through West Hollywood. And some of these stats here also are not going to be totally reflective of what we did with WeHo with Pride. However, for what I see also is as we get into summer here, that our medical component does tend to go up because the activity gets to be busier. And as we get into our nightlife, our run volume usually happens more frequently, and it really peaks as we get after the 9 o'clock hour into 2 to 4 a.m. is what we see. And then we also do see and I know that the Sheriff's Department can talk to it as well, a potential increase in our traffic-related incidents. As far as you can see the fires that we had, as quite a few on the trash and rubbish fires. And as far as the property loss and values, I didn't see anything outside besides the vehicle fire that we had off of La Cienega. But other than that, I didn't see anything that shocked me. One thing, though, however, that I do wanted to bring up is we're seeing an increase. Once again, I've talked this for quite a few years now, is a lithium-ion battery component. So we just need to send really some general awareness about the amount of those things that we're using in our homes and proper cords that you may get from an alternate vendor that's not factory, or whether the product is Underwriter Laboratory approved and has that stamp on it. And those are very challenging. And then we still have with this potential with the scooter collection and what we call the farming, where they collect them and they charge them in their homes and they distribute them fully charged to other places. That does draw to a home that's not built to do that. So that is a potential as well with things. But lithium-ion batteries are becoming challenging across the nation for stuff. So I've told you this before. I have kids. We have the Dysons, this and that and the other, and we charge them. I only charge them when we're home during the day. I don't do any of that overnight. So my kids, scooter or something like that, truthfully, you probably think I'm funny. I do it during the daylight when we're home, and I do it outside. So I know not everybody has that option. However, we need to be really aware of charging those type of things because they do overheat, and the manufacturing could be sketchy depending on who the vendor is and how they're built. It's a real thing. So is there any questions for me? And then I have some other stuff to talk about up to this point.
Commissioner Blau?
Thank you, Vice Chair. With respect to the lithium-ion batteries, is the concern that you've been seeing mostly about the batteries themselves combusting, or is it more so when you talked about the farming to charge, I started imagining actually like circuit amps getting overpulled and the wires potentially overheating? Which one of those two? Or
That
maybe
is a
both
yes
have you
and a
been-
yes.
Yes,
So
both.
they, depending on the manufacturer, you could have a failure in that battery and or whatever product you are charging. And yes, you can overload what a home is built to do. And then with people that, let's say, want to have a task done, which is to charge these, and they go, oh, well, if I just increase the breaker size, it's a thing. Believe you me, people get creative with stuff. So recommended allowance to what you're going to pull off of your electrical grid. There has to be a balance for the size of wire that you have based upon the breaker that you have. You can't overload it and say, hey, I'm going to overload it and get creative and work around it, because that's what causes an electrical short that gives a high risk and potential for fire.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, great question. It's a real thing.
Commissioner Eng?
Thank you, Vice Chair. You mentioned that there have been fires at homes of people that are paid to charge. Are you noticing multiple calls? Like, in other words, okay, so it's like...
No, this is just a trend nationally, and it's happening with those cities that have a base that people navigate on their bikes or scooters. So rural, not so much, but in our high population cities across the United States is where we're seeing an uptick in this type of what is called farming, that they collect all the, kind of like, I equate it to where, people to go and collect their shopping carts and take them back and get paid to do that. There's people to get paid to charge these type of things as well. And I just want an awareness to, it has a potential that's, our residences are not built to do that.
Any other questions? Do we have any questions from the public?
I don't see any questions from the public.
Okay. George, sorry. There you go.
Thank you, Chief Smith. I I did have a question about on the 10th and the 22nd, there were both reports of intentional fires that were set. I know that the sheriffs were called out. I can follow up with them too. Do you have any information about that? Do you suspect it was the same person? Were they connected?
So I don't have any information on that. I can say that if we work with our arson unit and we work with the sheriff's department, and if we have to go through the investigation route, that's what we do. But if nothing's been determined at this point that I have, and I don't believe Fanny has anything on that yet because we talk all the time. So it's very hard, and I've talked this, but it's very hard on arson. Just because, once again, I say, hey, our arson unit doesn't mean it's an arson call. It means it's a fire investigation component, and it can go a lot of different avenues. So if we have something that is the potential work of potential arson, we investigate that, and we do that with our West Hollywood sheriff's partners as well. But I don't have any specifics on that.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, great question. Thank you.
Just a quick point of order, Chair, is that and this is maybe also to Commissioner Nickel as well, is that in the report, the first charts, the first 2 pages are of May 2024, and I think that has the dates that you were referencing, as opposed to at the bottom, I didn't see there's the 510, okay, but that's with a nitrous at the bottom for May of 2025. I was accidentally referencing the other side, too.
Thank you. Any other questions? And no questions from the public? Okay, thank you very much.
I have a closer. Can I close?
Closer, okay.
Hey, so West Hollywood Pride was awesome. The unified approach we took with our sheriff's partner, we felt on our end, and I'll talk for our sheriff's partners, we worked great together, and it was really, when we have that unified front on that all-risk type of emergency scenario, whether it is an all-risk emergency or if it's a planned event, it went really well. So your fire department, your sheriff's department, we were happy with what plan we put together and how we implemented that plan. And it looked like, with all of us being in the field and being operational, being in a command position, that everything went really well that we saw on our end, but also on your end, on the organization of what happened. I mean, the only input that I had to provide is a vendor wanted to bring these big coolers for people to drink. I'm all, absolutely. So those are the kind of things we like dealing with. So on our side of the house, it was very successful. So we appreciate all the support and for being involved in WeHo Pride. So thank you very much.
Thank you. That's great. And Commissioner Eng.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And I was going to save this until the end, but I do want to just say how amazing the city was this for Pride and for No Kings. I actually mentioned this earlier, but on Sunday when I went to the parade, I spoke to a staff member and asked, or I mentioned that I felt that everything was super safe, and I actually heard that there were only three at that point, only 3 incidents at the medical tent. And again, it's staff that made this so safe. I was out on those streets for 10 hours, Director Rivas. I can't say this enough. You know, like I'm practically your groupie in this case. But I felt amazingly safe out there in the street. And I recognized on Sunday that I didn't even think about, I had the leisure of not even thinking about safety because that's how safe we were. So I just really want to compliment staff. I know how hard you work, and it was an amazing event. We had 3 days of, again, went really well. So I'm very, very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the support. Outstanding.
Thank you very much. You can keep that. It's your gift. Next up, we're going to have Erica from Block by Block.
I think I turned that off. Good evening, everybody. Last few weeks have been really busy for us coming off of Pride. So wanted to provide some insight on what our teams have been working on for the last few weeks, including Pride weekend. For May, our teams conducted 3,849 business contacts throughout Santa Monica Boulevard, made contact with 1,264 unhoused individuals, yielded 769 calls for service, and provided 53 total escorts for the month of May. To start with Pride specifically, you are right, Commissioner Ng. The city's coordination this year was amazing. We collaborated extensively with code enforcement and our community safety partners to be really prepared and provide extra support in the event area. This year, our ambassadors provided support at 42 fixed posts, which is almost double what we did last year. At Meridian barricade intersections at key areas of the footprint, supporting efforts to restrict access into the footprint and helping to keep festival goers safe. It was a hot weekend, so I really want to commend our ambassadors during the day for providing those services. Lifting those gates was not an easy task, but they did it without any complaints, and I'm super proud of them for the work that they did. In addition, our senior safety officers provided substantial support to the code enforcement teams as we effectively, I think, significantly reduced unwanted vendor activity on Santa Monica Boulevard. I was able to be here last year for my first Pride, and compared to vendors on the boulevard this year, it was a significant difference, and I think all of that was collaboration between our teams. So a huge shout out to them. I do want to highlight one particular incident. We didn't have any incidences on our side to report, any incidences of public safety, except one where our team lead, one of our team leads who was positioned at a barricade on Cynthia and San Vicente, witnessed a rideshare driver run through a red light, inadvertently try to come into one of these secure barricade positions. He witnessed all this and tried his best to get the attention of our sheriff's partners that were there, was able to do so, let them know what he had just seen. As this driver was trying to back out, he struck a pedestrian who was not seriously hurt, but the quick thinking of our ambassador, getting our sheriffs involved, were able to get this vehicle located, and the driver was arrested. So I'm really proud of their work and quick thinking to help that pedestrian in that situation and not allowing it to get out of control. And that was the biggest incident that we had. In addition, I've been able to take part of various focus groups, providing insight and feedback and recommendations to the city's homelessness initiative that you all heard on June 9th. And so the multidisciplinary team that has been brought forth to City Council from our end, I think is fantastic. I think a lot of the feedback that our teams provided, as well as Sheriff's Department provided, comes from experiences in the field and from what we see as most urgent. And so we're really proud to have been part of those focus groups, hopefully initiating a different direction for response in the field. With our team specifically, we have, I've said this many times, a complex relationship with a lot of the individuals that we interact. We get to know a lot of them by name, their behaviors and where they're going to be. And so, that creates a challenging relationship to have, because we have to enforce, compliance, but we also want to do it, with compassion and the care first approach that the city has had. With that said, we are emotionally affected. Our teams are emotionally affected when we do lose somebody that we have built that rapport with, specifically individual Morgan Wells, who was lost on May 10th. Somebody actually called our service line to report that they had seen an individual laying out in that alleyway, and one of our ambassadors was there to respond and discovered, unfortunately, Morgan's body and acted as quickly as possible to get emergency services involved. But as you all know, that was too late for that. So our teams were very affected emotionally by that interaction. Obviously, like I said, they build rapport with these individuals. Sometimes it's challenging and complex, but no matter, a loss is a loss. And so wanted to commend our teams for acting as quickly as possible and, taking that in stride and continuing to do their work. Aside from that, I think that's all I have to report, except for obviously the No Kings protest this weekend was pretty peaceful. I know our teams adjusted their deployments to provide extra support in case anything needed as far as safety were concerned, but we had no incidences to report. Everything was peaceful, and we were glad to provide services and support for those events. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer those now.
Yeah. Commissioner Eng?
Actually, you know what, that was left over from last time, but I do actually have one. Manager Leon, you mentioned that one of your officers found that body. Is there any sort of trauma post-care for this individual? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's to any interaction, and anytime an ambassador is assaulted or experiences some sort of traumatic event in the field like this, absolutely their mental health is our first priority. And we do have employee assistance programs that we immediately offer. In this case with this employee, I personally had a conversation with her, gave her some extra time off just to make sure we all process things differently. And I know that she was emotionally moved by this, and so she was provided the support that she needed, and she's fine. Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Hallman?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Just a positive comment, and I want to thank you with the barricades. I was working at Robertson in Santa Monica most of the weekend, and your team managing the barricade on Robertson north of Santa Monica, I think did an amazing job. They were always polite. It was hot. Yeah. They were out there in the sun. But when people with the designated permits needed to get in, they lifted the barricade, they did their job, and I was there. I watched them all day and tonight, and they really did a remarkable job. And I don't think people realize how flexible block by block has to be when these different events and things happen in the city. And also you do an amazing job managing that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commission Secretary, do we have any public comments this time?
Doesn't look like we have any public comments.
Yep, Commissioner Pulaski.
Sorry, it wasn't reading my thumb there. I wanted to say, Erica, I echo Commissioner Hallman's support. I'm just reading through these numbers. The work that you do as a team is truly amazing. I talk to everyone I can on the streets, and everyone brings their best self to work every day. I mean, everyone that I've talked to is just so helpful and so patient and flexible, and all the good values that we have as a city are embodied in your staff. So thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. I wanted just a question about, I guess, going back to our previous presentation. So just on the calls, the proactive control or patrol, the unhoused. So in each situation, the police are contacted. What is the protocol, I guess, if you could just remind us of the block by block protocol, given the unhoused care numbers that we saw earlier tonight?
Yeah, so what we always try to do first is obviously offer services. That's with any contact that we make. we offer services. If the individual is in an area where they're, they're violating an ordinance or blocking the public right of way, if they're refusing services at that point, then we will ask for compliance. Depending on the situation, if they've got, a number of belongings, obviously we want to be cognizant of that. And so if they need time to remove those belongings, we'll give them that time. Either by, just removing ourselves or from a distance or coming back and checking on them within 10, 20 minutes. At that point, if they still refuse to relocate, we will place a, what's called a 10-3 call, which is like a dummy call to the sheriffs, and where we will call in to our supervisor or team lead, a dummy call, describing the individual, giving location and everything else. Most of the time that works with individuals. They don't want to get, sheriffs involved. But when it doesn't, we will place an actual call and then request sheriff assistance with that particular situation. If they do accept services, at that point, we will call WeHo Cares or Healthcare in Action to give them the information about the individual, where they're located, and we will do our very, very best to wait there with them as much as we can to provide that handoff to social service providers. And then if we can't, then we will provide the information to the individual, and then they can coordinate services with each other. Just to provide a little bit more insight in how I know Commissioner Pulaski, you were asking about, when to call Healthcare in Action versus WeHo Cares. So for us, when we call Healthcare in Action, by the way, they're Monday through, I think they're 7 days a week, if I'm not mistaken. They are 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And so we call Healthcare in Action whenever we see an individual that is experiencing, who needs medical attention, not to the degree of calling a paramedic, but, is not a Band-Aid. We call WeHo Cares when somebody needs a Band-Aid, they have a cut or something very minor that isn't requiring, the level of care that Healthcare in Action can provide. Or if someone is experiencing a mental health crisis that is not to the degree of maybe calling the MET team, but, Healthcare in Action would be the folks to do that, since they offer case management, and their services are a little bit more detailed when it comes to offering various types of services to individuals that are a little bit more complex. WeHo Cares, we rely on a lot more for just smaller cases. Someone needs minor medical attention, or they're asking for food or water, or they may be interested in other services. Or if someone is just not sure, we'll call WeHo Cares anyway, and we'll say, hey, this person, is asking for services and not sure what's available, and then we'll let the professionals take over and direct those services. We call WeHo Cares quite a bit. I think WeHo Cares is probably our closest collaborator, just because they're available 24/7 like our program, and so we find that calling WeHo Cares for us just works a little bit better because of the number of people that maybe are not on that extreme spectrum that we're finding. So.
That's really helpful. Thank you so much for explaining that and just reminding all of us of all of the resources. I mean, tremendous. Thanks so much.
And then WeHo Cares comes and just provides refresher trainings. They just did one a couple of weeks ago for our teams, just to make sure that our ambassadors are well versed on what services when they call. And worst case scenario, if someone is not sure what an individual needs, even if they see somebody who is experiencing a mental health crisis, even if they're not asking for help, what WeHo Cares recommends is that we call them anyway, even residents. So that number is really important to call, and so gives residents the ability to also participate in those efforts.
Thank you, Erica. Appreciate it. Next up is our monthly report from our sheriffs. Hello to you both.
Good evening. jump right into the report. For the month of May, West Hollywood personnel handled a total of 1,810 calls, 80 of those being an emergency response. Deputies made 38 felony arrests and 108 misdemeanor arrests. For Part 1 crimes for the month, we had 167 incidents. When broken down by district, the West accounted for 62%, 103, City Center 18% with 30, and the East 20% at 34. We had 40 reported pickpocketing incidents in the Rainbow District for the month of May, and that includes part of Pride Weekend. Our MET team responded to a total of 70 incidents this month, and our volunteers donated 229 hours the month of May. Unfortunately, the report that we get from our sorts program, we have somebody new that's handling that at our station, and they weren't able to get me that sorts number for this report, but I will report on it next month. From my understanding, it was high, but I'll get you that number for next month for our sorts reports. As it's already been stated, WeHo Pride was a great event this year. We had very little incidents, very little problems. Everything went very, very well. This past Saturday, the event in the park with the First Amendment rally went well for us as well. There was no reports of any type of crime involved, and we were there in uniform and not in uniform to keep the crowd safe.
And we're open for any questions that you might have.
Any questions?
Hello, everyone.
No questions. I just say thank you for everything. I feel the same way. I mean, both the Pride event and the No King event, First Amendment event, Sunday or Saturday was exceptional. I thought really well handled. I think everybody felt safe there.
Very, very strong collaborative effort between all the agencies. And as Chief Drew said, Smith, it's everybody. We started planning with our events. We started planning with our fire department partners, and just making sure that every situation that we can potentially foresee that we planned for. So we're very happy that it was a successful event.
Commissioner Post.
Yeah, thank you for both those events. I attended both. Definitely, as Commissioner Ng said, very safe, felt very safe the whole time. Two specific things I wanted to ask about. I know I had seen there was kind of a smash and grab break-in at the Woods in West Hollywood, maybe less than 2 or 3 weeks ago. I just wanted to see if there was any updates around that. I know they hit another, I believe, cannabis dispensary. I don't think it was in West Hollywood, but it was in the vicinity. So just didn't know if there was anything that you had to add there.
That specific incident was taken over by a major crimes bureau, and they're the ones handling. I know that it's still an active investigation, but I know that they have information, and they're working collaboratively with LAPD, because the other incident was in LAPD's area.
Awesome. And then appreciate that info. The other specific incident I had, folks in my building, specifically our building manager, asked about, I believe it was on the Saturday night of Pride, so that June 1st night, there was some type of loud bomb, firework, or mortar that might have happened. At least it was right at the corner of Gardner and Hampton, Curson and Hampton. And there was like some residual smoke, and I thought I'd heard maybe there was one further south on Gardner, closer to Willoughby, but was just wondering if you had heard any about activity around that. It was around I think 2:30 a.m. I had a number of folks get out, and just as a result of that, my building manager was also just asking about how to report on things like that, whether she almost called 911, but I figured it was almost something more non-emergency line or something like that. So any info on that incident, or any tips on how we could pass along info for our residents to kind of respond to incidents like that?
I don't know the specifics of that incident, but we'll make sure to follow up with the commission and let you know what we find out on that. But any specific incident where, I mean, if you hear large or loud bang or an explosion of type, I mean, call the station, call the fire department. Let us go investigate that, whatever it may be. It could be backfire pipe from a vehicle, or it could be
an actual electric, what do you call those, generator?
Transformer
things, I'm on, whatever that is, I'm a transformer explosion. So absolutely, let us go investigate whatever it is. Just call us. If 911, regular line, whatever it is, let us go investigate. And if we have to get our brothers in blue with the big red trucks to come and help us out, they're more than happy to help us out.
Thank you. Another thing I had, I know there was supposed to be an update, I think, at the June 9th meeting, and so Danny might talk more about it, but I just wanted to see if there was any more information you could provide around the drone program and the reasoning behind the Sheriff's Department's decision there, I guess. I don't know if there's any further info there, or if Danny wants to.
I know that there are our department's going to compete due to the civil unrest and the ICE protests that we had. Our assistant sheriff was unable to come to the 9th, so we're pushed it to the 23rd. So they'll make the official statement as to what's going on with our drone program.
And I may have a few more about the rates, but nothing right now. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions, commissioners? Do we have any public speakers at this time? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it on there. Who's first? Commissioner Nickel.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Acting Captain Lapkin, Sergeant Duran, thank you for the presentation. So residents came out from West Hollywood West. I know that they have concerns. There were some break-ins. I believe a car was stolen. Can you talk about their concerns?
One, first and foremost, I went out there and I apologize for the lack of communication. And that's not something that we normally do. We're actually very responsive for the most part. There has been a lot going on. No excuse, but we're going to remedy that. And our community members and our residents should be able to contact us and get a response from us. So we will remedy that and we'll set up a meeting with the neighborhood. But as far as I know that this month the crime in that specific area trended down, and I could tell you there was a lot of things that we did in order to try and make sure that happened. We had a lot of undercover operations, that we had increased patrol checks in that general area. I know that there was it's not the undercover, it's the decoy car that was vandalized. And unfortunately, it's not the first time that our decoy car has been vandalized in various areas of the city. It's just, it's a car that either somebody, on this specific incident, somebody threw a brick or a rock through it. Other times, we've had one where they broke the side mirror. It's unfortunate, and it's not target specific to that area. Unfortunately, we had our vehicle vandalized, and reasons why I can't tell you as to why, but I know that we're working with our special teams, other bureaus to come and assist us with some of the residential burgs and the different incidents that are happening in the city.
Do you have any suspects, or have you made any arrests?
In regards to any of the specific burglary or the vandalism?
For the incidents that they reached out to you about.
I have to look specifically as to which ones and check with our detectives to see if there has been any arrest on those.
Okay. And of course, I was in touch with them, and I was in touch with you, and I said it's pride, it's any number of things, and it is not my experience as a resident, long before I was ever a commissioner, to reach out and not get a response, or not a quick response. So I'm glad that that's being remedied, and that you are communicating. And I'm glad that residents do that. That's what we need to do. Always step up and say if we feel unsafe, to let everyone know. Last question is, I had mentioned to Chief Smith about those 2 incidents. So it sounds like you don't have any suspects or anything for the 2 that may have been arson, intentionally set fires?
No.
No, we don't have anything. It is being investigated, but we don't have anything that necessarily links them or any arrests at this point.
Got it. Thank you.
Commissioner Pilarski.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I wanted to just make a note of the 114 citations on Fountain Avenue. I take Fountain Avenue as a cyclist, and I appreciate the focus there to make sure that residents see that we are concerned about that street, and that people who take that street learn that we are serious about enforcement on that street. So thank you very much for the focus there. And I also just wanted to thank you for the Pride effort, but also the seconded officers that came in from different areas in the county. I spoke to everybody that I could, and everyone had a great attitude. They understood what we were doing here in the city. So, and that comes from you guys explaining to them the culture of our place. So thank you so much.
Commissioner Eng.
Thank you, Vice Chair. It's actually a comment to the residents that came out, which I don't think I'm supposed to do, but I'm doing it. One of the things I saw Captain Labkin get up and follow you out. I'm really grateful to see that. But I do want to make the comment that you have the essential components of safety, which is neighborhood involvement, and that you're all communicating with each other is amazing. Keep that up. I think that is the basis of which safety increases. So I want to commend you for all of that. And now understanding that you have the involvement of public safety officers, I'm hoping and I'm sure that things will be remedied. But again, the fact that you're all communicating with each other and all active in your neighborhood is amazing. And I really hope that that continues outside of problems, because that is what will keep you safer. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Post.
Yeah, just wanted to follow up. Maybe there'll be more comment on this as part of the city's response, which I think has been great to some of these ICE protests. I think it's on everybody's mind right now, at least mine constantly. And I was just interested to see if any of our West Hollywood station sheriff's officers have been pulled into those instances, particularly in terms of like mutual aid contracts or things like that. And what activities kind of have we participated in or are involved in as kind of part of those protests? I know there's largely crowd control, obviously, or if you could restate, I know some of us have maybe seen what Sheriff Luna has said in terms of what the sheriff does or does not do in terms of ICE enforcement. So if you could just give a little bit more background about how the WeHo sheriffs have been involved, what we provide in terms of mutual aid and things like that, I think would be really helpful for the community.
As far as, I could read you the sheriff's statement on ICE. It's on our website, but I just know that we do not participate in any civil immigration laws. We don't ask for people's, what their immigration status is. So that's not something that we have done or we have ever done and will ever do. As far as the sheriff station and their involvement, we were part of a mutual aid. There was numerous times where deputies from our station were sent out to assist, not the federal units in any type of enforcement. Our station didn't even go and assist when they needed the help. Those went to the National Guard and others. I think even the Marines at one point. But with us, it was just for assisting the protest to make sure that the violating of crimes, the unruliness, that's what we were involved in, assisting, protecting, whether it be property, and also just making sure that everybody was safe. So we did participate in responding to that, and if they continue, that's it's mutual aid, and we assist. I mean, they had agencies as far north as Santa Barbara County, as far south as Ventura County, even San Diego County coming up here and assisting as well.
Yeah, I definitely saw a lot of watching the live streams, lots of different law enforcement organizations were definitely on the ground. I think one of the things that I want to bring it up, even though we have not had as much disruptive activity here in West Hollywood, I still think the presence and the visual representation of the sheriffs on the ground there is something that contributes to our feeling of public safety here in the city. And knowing and seeing that there were certain crowd control actions taken, whether it was earlier in the evening, not necessarily at that 8 p.m. curfew, I think one of the questions I have is to what level of activity initiates maybe a use of some of those, like maybe less than lethal or non-lethal munitions, whether it's pepper balls, tear gas, rubber bullets. I don't know if there was any sheriffs on horses down there as well, but I know there was a number of incidents with civilians running in, being trampled. And so I think for me, understanding a little bit of what might cause a sheriff to use such action would be appreciated. I know I was reading the after action report from LAPD after the George Floyd protests last year, and it sounded like the sheriff's department had a lower threshold of approval than LAPD does for the use of those munitions. So I don't know if that is something that you could kind of describe that process. I know it probably happens very quickly when you're on the ground there, but even from a kind of SOP, standard operating procedures that the county sheriffs abide by when using those munitions, I think would be helpful if you could provide that.
There is a threshold as to the use of non-lethal weapons. That's what they're called. Whether it be in a civil unrest situation or whether it be in a situation that we have basically in our backyard. But if for the civil unrest, if any officer, not necessarily deputies, are receiving, they're getting rocks and bottles and they're being attacked, they form, now if it's something projectile coming directly and they have target specific, so when we use less lethal, it has to be target specific. We don't, like our pepper balls, we don't throw them in the general area. It has to be target specific to the individual throwing the rocks and bottles. A lot of the time that I've seen it done in this specific incident has been when they declared it as an unlawful assembly and people are refusing to leave, and that's when the violence starts. So they'll deploy gas to try to get people to move, but it's only in the instance of violence. We don't, and everything is very target specific. So it's not to a crowd, it's specifically to the individuals that are throwing the rocks, throwing the bottles, or there's times where we've seen them with slingshots throwing rocks at us. So it's not just to the crowd. It's very target specific for us.
Thanks for explaining that. I know it's definitely social media views, things like that. You never see the full crowd. You don't see who might have thrown that, and some of that can, I know in those situations, be delayed. You have to kind of identify who that person is, and I can see the officers doing that on the front lines, trying to like pinpoint those people. And so just appreciate the background on that. And again, doing your best to try to keep the public safe in those instances.
Commissioners, any other questions? Do we have any public speakers at this time?
We have no public speakers.
Okay. Next up is items from staff.
Thank you, Vice Chair and members of the Commission. At the next Public Safety Commission meeting in July, the members of the Public Safety Commission will elect a chair and vice chair from amongst its members. We will also have a presentation from Athens, who will share valuable safety tips related to trash and disposal. At the August meeting, we will share a presentation about the city's neighborhood watch groups and invite the captains to join the meeting as well. On May 20th, we had a CERT alumni meeting for West Hollywood residents who have received CERT training in past years to allow for an opportunity to stay connected, network, and discuss emergency preparedness in our community. We had just over 20 participants and will continue to hold these sessions in the coming months. Please save the date for National Night Out, which will be on August 5th. We will have a complete list of National Night Out neighborhood events on the City of West Hollywood Public Safety website next week, and we'll be sending out a citywide mailer to share all the happenings throughout the city in early July. Pride 2025 was a safe and successful event. We want to extend our appreciation to our public safety partners from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, Los Angeles County Fire Department, our code enforcement team, and Block by Block, and many other agencies and city departments for their invaluable contributions to a safe and successful Pride event. Next, I will pass it over to Danny Rivas, Community Safety Director, for additional updates.
Thank you, Anita, and good evening, Vice Chair and members of the Public Safety Commission. Danny Rivas, Director of Community Safety. I just wanted to add to all of the compliments to our public safety partners for Pride. Obviously there's been a lot that's been going on, and certainly I know our chief had to leave, but for our Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, our Los Angeles County Fire Department, our block-by-block security ambassador team, code enforcement, all the folks that Anita mentioned. Of course, she did not mention herself and the many other city departments, and so I certainly wanted to acknowledge her and her team, and Jessica and Margarita, we're a small but mighty team in our public safety division, and all of the departments in the city that work tirelessly to prepare to get our emergency action plans in place, to get our command posts, to get rooms, reservations, working with production companies. Our event services team does a great job as well, coordinating and being that liaison. So there's like practically every department that participates in a lot of the planning and the coordination that goes in there. I know I've seen many of you out as well, and it was great to be able to have and hear folks feel safe and secure during Pride. Sunday was fantastic. We had so many accomplishments and successes this year. We certainly took a different approach than we've ever taken before from a public safety perspective. And I know you've heard just a couple of those comments, and without us going into detail, but everybody just came together and it was a collective effort, and we couldn't be happier, right, and more pleased with hearing the comments from our residents, from our businesses, and from our commissioners, our advisory board members, our council as well. And so it was just a heavy lift. It always is. And before we know it, Halloween's going to be right around the corner, and we're already going to start having conversations and resetting and doing it all over again. But of course, that's one evening as opposed to an entire weekend, and so we'll be looking forward to that. And so I just wanted to thank all of our public safety partners and city staff across all the departments for their efforts and the successes that we had. I also just wanted to comment on this past weekend and all of the first, amendment assemblies that we've been seeing. A lot of folks came together as well to ensure that folks were able to express themselves peacefully and that they felt safe in terms of doing so. So it was very successful on Saturday this past weekend. Again, I know I've seen some of our public safety commissioners as well, and others from various commissions. Our city council members were out as well and spoke, and it was just very emotional and moving, and again, just a safe a place for all to be able to express themselves. And we had zero incidents, issues occur, and a big thank you to, again, just the sheriff station and our sheriff's partners and our security ambassadors for pulling together, enhancing their services, right, adjusting, pivoting, deployments, et cetera, and just making sure that folks, again, were able to do so during these important times. The city did release a press release and statement last week on June 8th as it relates to the city's position and stance. And so if folks have not, read that or were aware of that, you can go to the city's website, or you can simply Google search, right, on the internet or any other search query and just type in City West Hollywood news press releases, and that item will pop up at the very top, and you're able to see all of those issued press releases, but you'll see that one on June 8th specifically. And it does emphasize at the end of that statement that the Los Angeles County Office of Immigration Services does have resources available for for the immigrant community and other providers. Know Your Rights. It has a tremendous amount of resources, et cetera, that folks can access. There is a link to the Los Angeles County Office of Immigration Services website there, webpage there. So please, we're just encouraging folks, and you know, we're looking to connect with all of our community members and folks that come to our great city. And so, again, thank you all for Pride. Thank you all for this past weekend, and we'll continue to keep the commission and community updated as much as possible as things emerge. So thank you.
Thank you, Denny. Public comments. Do we have any public comments?
We have no public comments.
Okay, thank you. I'm moving on to commissioner comments. Let's do it. Commissioner Blau. Commissioner Eng.
Thank you. I'm going to read. On June 12th, U.S. Senator Alex Padilla was handcuffed, physically assaulted, and removed from a press conference because he tried to ask questions of the Secretary of Homeland Security. During that press conference, Kristi Noem stated that federal agents were in Los Angeles to liberate the city from the socialist and the burdensome leadership that this governor and this mayor have placed on this country. Gavin Newsom was duly elected governor twice and easily defeated a recall effort. Mayor Bass was also duly elected as mayor of Los Angeles. The administration is trying to discount the will of the majority of the people of California, and this is the action of a dictatorship. It is among the many deeply disturbing and unacceptable acts from this administration. I read the following on social media. I'm sorry to not be able to attribute it, but I'm going to read it now. Every raid will be met with protest. Every city will become a front line in this fight. Every contractor or business enabling deportations will be exposed. These kidnappers are not anonymous. They live among us, and while they target our families, we will ensure their comfort is disrupted. What they are doing is illegal, immoral, and unforgivable. Thank you.
Any other commissioners, any other comments? Commissioner Pilarski.
Thank you, Commissioner Eng. That was powerful. I also just wanted to mention the No Kings rally in WeHo Park this past Saturday. It was peaceful. Thank you to the officers for their attention, their readiness, but also the space that they gave all of us to protest in peace. So the collective, we are in wild, unprecedented times right now. We need to show up for those on the margins more than ever. So dig deep within you to be the best neighbor that you can possibly be, and say hi to people on the street. I also, this is kind of a shift, but I wanted to highlight the County of Los Angeles Emergency Survival Guide that I picked up and I've been reading, and I just want to show it here. This is a resource that everyone should have in their home. Every single page is helpful, and responding to disasters, taking care of your neighbors, if something happens in your house, how to care for your pets. I mean, truly anything. And I know Commissioner Eng has been always such a staunch advocate of being, radically self-reliant when it comes to this stuff. So, while there are wild times outside, just take care of yourself and have a read through this. Thank you.
Commissioner Post.
Yes, I've spoken about the ICE stuff a lot, but just want to say thank you to the city for their comments, to all of our city council members. I know Mayor Byers was at a press conference with Mayor Bass, pushing back on these things, and I just think as the progressive city that we are, we have to be the folks leading in pushing back on these things as well. A few specific things I wanted to ask. Danny, I know we had the Human Services presentation that just came and appreciated them. One of the things that I would like to see, and I'm not sure if we'd have to agendize this, but I would love to also see a similar presentation from the Communications Department at the city, namely around how they are interconnected in some of these things, how do they communicate not only internally, I know it's probably mostly between these departments, and spread that information externally. I think a lot of this would be helpful, particularly out of kind of thinking about the fires and some of the miscommunications or misunderstandings that residents, I think, had during that time. So if there's any way to get the comms team to get here at some point, I think that would be great. And then one of the other things I've been thinking, largely because it's something that I see some of these other commissions doing. I don't know if it's if it's frowned upon or not, but I see other commissions having liaisons, not only to city council, but some of these other commissions, whether it be for us, I think specifically Human Services and Transportation Commission would be really good to have someone attending and trying to take in that information. So just wanted to put that out there. If other commissioner members are interested in some type of liaison situation, I think public safety has a lot to offer to some of those commissions as well. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
And, Vice Chair, just real quick, just a quick response to Commissioner Post. So we'll certainly make a request to Communications to see the feasibility about them attending a future meeting. I did want to comment, and we forgot to mention, the fire debrief item is actually going to be going to the City Council on June 23rd. And that will provide, as I was just reviewing it today, a very comprehensive outline of all the communication and kind of seeing what Commissioner Post just described, right, is how all that works and the communication during emergency type situations that you have with multiple departments. And so I thought it was a good plug just to let you all know. We'll certainly forward the staff report when it becomes available, but be on the lookout. That discussion is coming forth in a few days.
Awesome. Thanks, Danny. And that reminded me real quick, one last question is that's like our biannual safety meeting. Is that true as well? Or no, it's just
No, yeah, so this is going to be different. It's going to be separate. It'll be its own discussion. And this is as a result of the City Council direction that staff had received just following the regional fires, right, earlier this year. And so to ask staff to come back. So this is separate. We have not scheduled yet the semi-annual public community safety report. That more than likely will come in sometime in August.
Thank you.
Sure.
Commissioner Nickel.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I wanted to thank Chair Adam Aramian for all of his hard work on this commission. He's been a resident of West Hollywood for decades. He's worked in the Rainbow District for years, and that kind of experience is just not replaceable. So we're diminished by not having him, so thank you for all the work that he did. And I'm glad that we will continue in our neighborhood watch group to benefit from his involvement as a co-captain. And I'm glad that we're going to have the watch groups in August. I think that we got a bit of a preview from that tonight. I know that there were residents of the West Hollywood West Residents Association, which functions as a watch group and does a national night out. This is exactly what you do. You get together when there's a problem in your neighborhood and you make a loud noise. So that's a big part of it. And the last thing is all of our public safety partners, everyone has said it, but it's just so true. When there have been many opportunities for bad things to happen, we have had a peaceful June in West Hollywood. We've had a hopeful June when there's not a whole lot of hope around these days. And it's because everyone felt safe. And Councilmember Meister and her sister, they put together an amazing event on Saturday with the No Kings Rally. So I'm glad that I was there, and I'm glad that it was peaceful and hopeful. So thank you.
I second that. I totally agree. I felt that both of those events were very uplifting, and the fact that they're in our backyard, they are our local events, just showed an incredible amount of support, and the coordination was fantastic. And thank you all for that. If there are no other questions or comments, we are adjourned. Good job, Paige. All right. Thank you.